Welcome to the JP8 report. This is James Pierce with the JP8 report, episode 386. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the JP8 report. I just realized I'm 2 weeks away to regular broadcasting, whether it be, uh, what's today, the 5th? So we got 6, 7, well, I'll figure it out. Well, by Memorial Day, I'll be at episode 400, which is pretty cool. All right, so welcome to the JPA report. If you were going to search for me on ask.com, you're out of luck. I found out yesterday that ask.com finally closed after 30 years of being a search engine. So, all y'all old timers out there, delete it from the browser because it's not going to work anymore. All right. Thank y'all for tuning in today. Don't forget to click that follow button, please, to be a follower of the JP8 report. And then click that like button to like the episode today. And let's get going on the chat. Get involved, help me out, give me some steering questions y'all would like for me to pursue and stuff during the podcast today. I will do a little bit of a premium. So you got to be a premium member to be able to entertain that, but that won't happen until an hour from now. I'm going to post a question in the chat though. Now, where is everybody watching from today? I'm going to put Texas for me. Texas, and I'm going to put a Texas flag in there. Oh, I didn't do it. Okay, never mind. So I'm going to write Texas. There we go. Yeah. So I got us all started. And so here we go. Just if you'll get a chance, tell me where you're watching from. That'd be cool. All right. So we got welcome, follow, chat, and like. Okay, here we go. As we are going, we got 5 people starting off in the live right now, which is cool. I'm looking for Covite for Life to join in, and retired Rob 53 to join in. Rob may not be here. I think he said he had a doctor's appointment this afternoon, so he was going to be out. All right, so we'll start off with America 250. I have a letter here from George Washington to John Hancock, from the commanding general to the President of the Second Continental Congress. Sir, I have so often and so fully communicated my want of arms to Congress that I should not have given them the trouble of receiving another letter upon this subject at this time, but for the particular application of Colonel Wayne of Pennsylvania, who has pointed out a method by which he thinks they may be obtained. In the hands of the Committee of Safety at Philadelphia, there are, according to Colonel Wayne's account, not less than 2,000 or 3,000 stand of arms for provincial use. From hence, he thinks a number might be borrowed by Congress, provided they are replaced with Continental arms as they are brought into the magazine in that city. At a crisis so important as this, such a loan might be attended with the most signal advantages, while the defenseless state of the regiments, if no relief can be had, may be productive of fatal consequences. to give Congress some idea of our situation with respect to arms and justice to my own character requires that it should be known to them, although the world at large will form their opinion of our strength from numbers without attending to circumstances, it may not be amiss to enclose a copy of a return which I received a few days ago from the forts in the Highlands, and add that by a report from Colonel Risma's regiment of the 29th, there appear to be only 97 flintlocks and 7 bayonets belonging thereto, and that all the regiments from the eastward are deficient from 20 to 50 of the former. For the companies of the fortifications in the Highlands belong to Colonel Clinton's regiment, but in that condition the residue are on account of arms and how Colonel Wincoop's men are provided. I cannot undertake to say that I am told most miserably, as Colonel Dayton's of New Jersey and Colonel Wayne's of Pennsylvania also are. This, sir, is to be true the melancholy description of our situation. The propriety, therefore, of keeping arms in store when men in actual pay are wanting of them, and who it is to be presumed will, as they ought, bear the heat and burden of the day, is submitted with all due respect, deference to the superior judgment of others. I cannot by all the inquiries I have been able to make learn what number of arms have been taken from the Tories, but they lay, or how they are able to be got at. The Committee of Safety for this colony have assured me that no exertions of theirs shall be wanting to procure arms, but our suffering is in meanwhile most may prove fatal, as men without are in a manner of useless. I have therefore thought about employing an agent whose sole business is to ride through in the middle and interior parts of these governments for the purpose of buying up such arms as the inhabitants may incline to sell and are fit to use. Wow, the first contracting officer of the Continental Army. Uh, the designs, I'm sorry, man, I had to say that. The designs of the enemy are too much behind the curtain for me to form an accurate opinion of their plans of operations for the summer's campaigns. We are left to wander, therefore, in the field of conjecture, and as no place, all its consequences considered, seem to of more importance to the execution of the grand plan than possessing themselves of Hudson's River. I thought it advisable to remove with the Continental Army to this city as soon as the King's troops evacuated Boston. But if the Congress, from their knowledge, information, or belief, think it is best for the general good of the service that I should go to the northward or elsewhere, they are convinced, I hope, that they have nothing more to do than to signify by their commands. With the greatest respect, I have honored to be your most obedient and humble servant, George Washington. That was a pretty good letter. I had to interject the contracting officers thing. I knew it was. I knew it was coming. That was really good, and it's sad that they're in sad shape of having the necessary arms to be a field army and to protect themselves, and that some of these governments are actually not wanting to provide the arms to the Continental Army, and they want to keep them to themselves. And we all know that in Pennsylvania, they're not as much pro-independence as people want them to be. That was a good letter. All right. So, we got to do this. The armament shop. Whether you are looking for your first firearm, upgrading your setup, or need expert service, Jason at the Armament Shop is Copper's Cove's premier source for all things shooting, Browse our wide selection of pistols, rifles, and shotguns backed by top-tier gunsmithing for repairs along with reloading supplies and professional cleaning to keep your firearm in peak condition. Need a transfer? We make FFL's transfers fast, easy, and affordable. Need your CHL? Jason can handle those classes. He has over 3 decades of experience. Visit the Armament Shop today at 115A West Avenue D in Coppers Cove, or call or text 254-560-2023, and visit them at www.armamentshop.com. That's www.armamentshop.com. The Armament Shop, your safety, our priority. All right, so that being good. All right, we have Covite for Life in there. Hey, Mr. Covite for Life, I'll put a general question up for everybody, if you don't mind, if you would answer that, and then engage with people when they actually answer it. Okay, I would appreciate that. And welcome today, Ricky. All right, Iran update. Operation Epic Fury, along with Project Freedom. Iran fired 15 missiles and 4 drones at the UAE yesterday, and they launched a barrage of missiles and drones again this morning at the United Arab Emirates. There have been, SecWar said there's been 10 plus violations of the ceasefire, but nothing that's serious enough to cause damage or infer a massive response by American forces. We have indeed some 6 of their maybe so-called fast boats. Evidently, they're not fast enough because they're at the bottom of the sea. There have been over 52 vessels turned back so far since the ceasefire began. The United Arab Emirates is on high alert, and they're still on high alert. 2 U.S. destroyers were attacked, and there was 0 damage at all. Reference in part to 6 fast boats that are at the bottom of the sea. The United Kingdom condemned the United Arab Emirate attack, and so did Saudi Crown Prince in a phone call to the UAE, and that would be from Mohammed bin Salman. The IRGC, which is the Iranian Republican Revolutionary Guard Corps, and the Iranian president are at odds about the attacks that have occurred on the UAE. Somehow they're getting very good missiles being restocked. I did not. And that they're getting really good grid coordinates. All we need is the grid coordinate to the Ayatollah Khomeini, and we can take care of the rest, okay? The president rejected a 14-point plan that was introduced by Iran a few days ago. And then Israeli Defense Forces, they took out a Hamas commander that was responsible for part of the operation that happened on October 7th of 2023 in Israel. All right. As of a short time ago, Brent crude oil was trading at $110.85 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate is at $101.70 a barrel. And then the Dow Jones Industrial is at 49,285.51. It's up 343.61. That's your Iran update. What did Ricky say? I did not. What didn't you do? Answer the question. Hey, like I was saying, if you're watching and you can ask me questions through the chat, that's no problem. Other podcasters do the same thing. It's easy. And don't worry if you make a mistake. The live chat goes away when the podcast ends, okay? All right. So I titled the podcast today, I Should Be Apologizing to Him. So if you've been listening to the news over the last day, you know where that's from, right? That would be from the judge, the magistrate judge in Washington, D.C., responsible for the case of Coe Allen, right? Um, Coe Allen was the guy on Saturday night that attempted to breach into the buffet room with the president, several cabinet members, and lots of media were there. And he wanted to kill as many people as possible in the administration. He shot one of the Secret Service agents in the chest with some buckshot. Luckily, the Secret Service agent had his body armor on, and oh, um, and then um, oh yeah, and that Secret Service agent was able to return fire. Right, so that's what's going on. But this magistrate judge is very apologetic to the, and I talked about a little bit about this morning. Uh, this is, and I have to correct, I cannot believe I'm going to say this. I got to somehow correct Dan Bongino from his podcast earlier this morning talking about this Judge Zia Faraji. He is not a federal judge. He's a federal magistrate. So the difference between a federal judge and a magistrate judge is that a federal judge, either a district court judge or appellate court judge or Supreme Court judge, has to be nominated by the president and be confirmed by the Senate for him to get a lifetime tenure on a federal court. Now, there's another thing inside the federal court system called a magistrate judge. When thanks, thanks for you're killing me, man. That was good. That was good timing. Just read the chat, and y'all will get what he just said. So this crazy stupid judge that Ricky just inferred about, he's a magistrate judge. So back in 2020, when he was put on the federal bench as a magistrate judge, he was not nominated by the President of the United States, which means he would have had to be confirmed by the Senate. What happened was the 13-judge system, I think it's 13 judges in the U.S. Court of Appeals at the District of Columbia, took applications, and this guy, a lawyer, right, decided he wanted to put his application to be a magistrate judge, and the judges on the appeals court voted to hire him to be a magistrate judge for 8 years. So he's in year 6 of 8 on the DC Court of Appeals only as a magistrate judge. He can't hear cases that go before the appeals court at all. So he's like I know I probably should have done it, but I should have put on there, I need a rent-a-judge. That's what I was going to name the podcast, and I did it this one instead. But so he has been, and you can tell he's a liberal. And historically, the D.C. Court of Appeals is a liberal appeals court. Most of the judges on there get appointed and they stick around until they die, and they're appointed usually by like Clinton or Obama or Biden. Most of the judges on there, not all of them, but the vast majority, like Boasberg. Judge Boasberg is a federal judge, and he's on the D.C. Court of Appeals, and he'll be there until the day he dies or he's impeached, one of the two, right? So there's nothing we can do about it, right? But yeah, this magistrate judge is taking care of this court case of this historic nature. I would say that the U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia needs to file for a change of venue to get a new judge, because I do not think she's going to get a good enough representation from the judge for a fair court case. All right? I might be wrong, but if I am, I am. Let me know in the chat. Besides with Ricky here, y'all jump into it and gnash heads, right? Knock heads. All right, but so This is what this knucklehead judge said. And I just called him a knucklehead. I didn't say anything else, right? He just wears a bow tie. And yeah, okay, we'll go from there. A federal, and I'm not saying anything. I got real good friends who wear bow ties, but this guy, you can tell. A federal judge on Monday decried the prison treatment of President Donald Trump's alleged would-be assassin. Hold on. Okay. My phone is acting up on me. Let's see. The treatment of President Donald Trump's alleged would-be assassin and apologized to him for restrictive confinement imposed on jail staff. Cole Allen, 31, has been in federal custody since prosecutors say he attempted to gain access to the White House Correspondents Association dinner ballroom and kill Trump along with other high-level government officials. Magistrate judge, I explained that to y'all just a second ago. Magistrate judge, do y'all in the chat right now, anyone that's watching, do y'all agree? You can do it by comment or chat. Do y'all agree we should have magistrate judges hearing federal court cases like this? Let me know, okay? Magistrate Judge Zia Farquhar told an attorney representing the Department of Corrections that he was fascinated and disturbed by Allen's treatment in jail. Allen was placed on suicide watch when he was first imprisoned. Suicide watch protocols mandated that Cole remain on a 24-hour lockdown in a safe cell and have no phone access to call or receive visits from anyone other than his legal team, according to the motion. His lawyers also want him to be able to obtain a tablet to assist in his legal defense. He was, he was also allegedly denied a copy of a Bible despite more than one request. That was alleged. I'd like to see that one in person. Not enough experience. Yeah. Prosecutor Jocelyn Ballantyne reasoned that since Allen told investigators he did not expect to survive the alleged attack, he could be a danger to himself. But an incredulous Farquhar, that would be the magistrate, reasoned that since wasn't convinced by that argument, drawing comparisons between Allen and defendants arrested for rioting on January 6, 2021. He quoted, "To me, it's extremely disturbing that he was put in 5-point restraints, a person with no criminal history." Farquhar later adding that Allen is presumed innocent. It's troubling. I've never heard of one January 6th defendant put in a 5-point restraint or in a safe cell. If the only way is to keep him safe, it is the most punitive thing. That's a problem. The judge even said even January 6th defendants were only housed in correctional treatment facility, a less restrictive form of prison housing. They weren't even convicted and they were sent to prison. In Texas, if you're awaiting trial, you're in a county jail and not in a state prison because you're innocent until proven guilty. They put the Biden administration, the Department of Justice, put these people in very restrictive housing. So I don't know what this judge is talking about. Maybe he's a rent-a-judge and he doesn't really understand. Pardons may ease convictions, but they don't erase history, he said. They were hanging gallows outside. No, they weren't. From what I say to Allen, that it is going to be a fair process, even if we're putting him in a safe cell when he's not supposed to be in there. At a minimum, I should apologize to him. Hence the title of the podcast. We are obliged to make sure that he is taken care of. Mr. Allen, I'm sorry that things, man, I am sorry. I'm so sorry that things have been the way they weren't supposed to be. He tried to kill the president of the United States. I really, really don't care, okay? He also addressed Allen directly. The jail is going to let me know by tomorrow morning about what's going on with your housing situation. If not, I'm going to have more questions for them. Um, we should be able to get you into a medium portion of the jail with windows. How about giving them a nail file at the same time? Um, Legal visits, ask for legal visits. Do not accept that these things are not acceptable. Farquhar said, advised. We will get you the Bible. If we can get you, uh, get, if we can get someone vegan food, we can get you a Bible. We can make sure you're not in a 5-point restraint. The judge ordered the jail to update him by tomorrow morning, which is this morning, about Allen's jail accommodations. The thrashing of the Department of Corrections and prosecution followed a motion filed on Sunday by Allen's attorneys requesting he be removed from suicide precautions in prison. However, Allen's attorneys asked to withdraw the motion on Sunday after they learned that Cole was no longer under the jail's suicide precautions. Despite the withdrawal, Farquhar, the Renner judge, ordered the prosecution, defense, and legal counsel for the Department of Corrections to appear before him for the Monday emergency hearing, which was yesterday. The court has grave concerns about the defendant's seemingly unprompted solitary confinement for days and overall conditions of confinement. Farquhar's response to the motion said, as such, the parties and a representative for the Department of Corrections shall appear in courtroom 4 at noon on May 4th, 2026 to explain the confinement. And it said on April 30th, Allen declined to exercise his right to a pretrial detention hearing, and remains in custody. For May 11th is his next hearing. All right. Wow. Yep. So, what does anyone have any type of comment about how that Renner judge is conducting himself in that courtroom with an alleged presidential attempted assassin there? Because I can tell you one thing. I think he attacked the government to get together with the intent to kill while visiting royalty was here. Good point. If he got shot, all blank would have hit the fan. That's absolutely correct. That was from Covite for Life. So one thing I was also going to add: look at how John Hinckley was confined when he shot President Reagan in 1981 at the same location. How was he confined in the prison cells before his trial? Because he was infatuated with Jodie Foster, and then he wanted to impress her by shooting President Reagan. So that would, you know what? I'm going to look that up. Not now. I'm going to go through the rest of the podcast, but I'm going to check that out later. Okay, and I might bring that back to you tomorrow. So the next is there was another shooting that never ends, right? And they're not really saying who the person was or what happened, except for that on the over by the White House grounds, not the White House, about a mile from the White House ground, I think a half mile or 2 mile by the Washington Monument, right? There was a Secret Service uniform division. So you have different types of You got three different types of Secret Service agents. You got the protective detail, right? Then you have uniform division. These are the guys you usually see patrolling around. Sometimes they wear fatigue. Sometimes they're dressed casual with a windbreaker that says USSS on it. Uniform division, right? And they're armed. They like a lot of them carry like P90 machine guns and stuff like that. When they're on the White House, they're on 18 acres. Um, so and then you have the financial crimes division of the Secret Service. So these guys go out on a patrol, presence patrol, make sure everything's secure, make sure there's no threats to the president. And this particular group of guys were looking at people for weapons, okay? And they suspected this guy had a weapon because if you are wearing, like sometimes people wear like a tight t-shirt, right? And wear a sidearm on their hip. You see it a lot in Texas. Um, Usually when I carry open carry, I wear, if I'm not my dress on my button down, I untuck my t-shirt and just let it droop over my sidearm. But sometimes those t-shirts get a little too tight. And evidently it impressed on his shirt. And a Secret Service agent, one of the uniform division guys, noticed that there might have been an impressed weapon, a concealed weapon under a shirt. And they approached the guy about, did he have a weapon? And the guy immediately fled, pulled his weapon, and shot back at the Secret Service agents, missed the Secret Service agents, and shot and wounded a little kid. And at the same time, the Secret Service agents returned fire and put the guy down and wounded him. And both the assailant and little kid are recovering non-life threatening injuries, but that's what happened. And they're not really saying anything else about who the guy was and why he had a weapon on him in the first place, right? Um, what is up with this stuff, right? I'm supposed to be live, and it's not acting like I'm live. Hold on just a second here. There we go. I should be live now. Okay. Man, there's some weird electronic stuff going on these days. I have no idea what's going on in my life. I'm just going to do a peace symbol right here. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's see. Okay, I'm live. Okay, good. Peace, peace, and peace. There we go. All right. So that's what happened yesterday afternoon at the White House, at the Washington Monument at 15th and Independence. That's where exactly it happened. All right. I'm glad nobody died. All right. Next is, and I mentioned this morning. Hey, all y'all old timers out there that I think I might have said it a while ago. I'm not sure. But ask.com, if you're joining us now, ask.com, if you're using that for a search engine looking for the JP8 report, it don't exist anymore. The JP8 report does. But ask.com, it got closed down yesterday permanently. All right. After 30 years. I don't know if Ricky over here on Co-White for Life has ever used ask.com. You might remember in the old days, it was you saw a commercial on TV called Ask Jeeves, which is ask.com. But yesterday they terminated the existence of that search engine. It's gone forever. When they announced it, when I was like starting to open up the link to look at the story, I actually thought they were going to put AOL.com on that thing. Maybe that's next. You got ask.com, you have AOL.com, and then I don't know if MindSpring still exists. I'm not sure about that one, but hey, Ricky, if you're still on there, which I know you are, but can you do real check and see if mindspring.com still is a viable um, search engine? All right, just let me know. Inquiring minds want to know. All right, so next, the Supreme Court clarified one of its rulings from last week. It is saying that their ruling on voting rights and gerrymandering is to take effect immediately. Okay, do not pass go. Do not collect $200. It is to be. It is to go into effect immediately. They said the Supreme Court decided Monday to let its recent ruling limiting a part of the Voting Rights Act take effect early instead of holding it for a month per tradition. The Supreme Court last week narrowed the scope of Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act to bar race-based districts. Ruling on Louisiana maps was unconstitutional and prompting the state to reschedule its upcoming House primaries while its lines are redrawn. Supporters of the Supreme Court ruling urged the Supreme Court to allow it to take effect immediately so Louisiana had time to redraw the maps, but opponents urged the court to push it until after the election because voting in the primary had already begun. The court's ruling was unsigned, but Justice Samuel Alito wrote in a concurring opinion that Louisiana should not have to use a map that was found to be unconstitutional, and there is still time for a new map to be redrawn, according to USA Today. To avoid the appearance of partiality, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson said in a dissenting opinion that the court's decision had spawned chaos in the South. To avoid the appearance of partiality here, we would, as per usual, opt to stay on the sidelines and take no position by applying our default procedures. Jackson wrote, but today the court chooses the opposite. Louisiana officials said the High Court's timeline for new maps does not matter, and it will be able to redraw the maps regardless of when it takes effect, which 2 months from now will be the primary in Louisiana, which spawns a whole other slew of articles we're going to go over in just a second. Okay, Richard just got back with me. Let's see. Mindspring merged with Earthlink in the year 2000 to make it one of the largest ISPs in the early 2000s. Does Earthlink even still exist? That's another good question, Ricky. Boy, I'm giving them homework day after day. All right, which is a very appreciable homework. All right, so back to Virginia. Okay, let me mark these off as I get to them. Okay, now we're back to Virginia. Former Virginia Attorney General Ken Cuccinelli says he believes the Supreme Court of Virginia, that'd be called SCOVA if you're looking for acronyms, right? Signaling it might reject redistricting referendum as soon as this week, leaving the state's current congressional in place through the 2026 elections. Cuccinelli, who now serves as national chairman of the Election Transparency Initiative, laid out what he called tea leaf update on X. I'm going to have to look that up. Regarding the ongoing Virginia redistricting cases, arguing that the court's recent handling of the litigation suggests a referendum could be in serious trouble. It is my belief that SCOVA will rule against the referendum, leaving Virginia with its current 6-5 map through 2026 and less $100 million that the Democrats spent on that referendum. Cuccinelli wrote, adding that he believes the court is trying to go fast given the need to settle the map before the 2026 elections. A ruling could come out as early as this week, and no opinion yet from Scova in the case argued last Monday, Cuccinelli wrote, referring to what he called Tazewell 1, a case that involves the 2025 violations of the Virginia's Constitution and laws by the Democrat General Assembly. The state's High Court recently heard arguments in a challenge to Virginia's redistricting amendment, while a separate case has been kept at the State Board of Elections from certifying the April 21st referendum results. Virginia's Supreme Court denied an emergency request that would have allowed certification to move forward while the legal fight continued. Cuccinelli pointed to the court's decision to leave an injunction in place in a second case where it described as Tazewell 2 as a possible sign that justices may be prepared to rule against the referendum. This tea leaf might suggest Scova has decided to rule against the referendum, Cuccinelli wrote, adding that the court might be holding the referendum in place because it does not expect to need further proceedings in the second case. He also noted that no briefing schedule has been set to be immediately appealed in the second case, saying that it might suggest Scova knows it will not be considering Tazewell 2 because they have already have the votes to reject the referendum. So, like I said, the Democrats may have spent over $100 million illegally on a referendum to get the hopes up of Democrats in the state of Virginia, and they should have went a whole different route to get it done, and they violated their Constitution, and they're going to pay $100 million price on this. That's what it looks like at this point. And then you also have to look at the possibility of how they sculpted these voting congressional districts inside the state of Virginia on a new map. Also, are they more of the minority majority congressional districts that the Supreme Court of the United States says cannot exist? So you may have more than one avenue at work right now. So we'll be seeing pretty soon what they want to say. Okay, Ricky says about Earthlink. Earthlink is around. It acts as a third party, renting the other mitigating company lines. Man. There we go. All right. Thanks a lot, Ricky. I'll try not to get you too many more questions here. All right. All right. So next, Alabama. All right. Alabama seeking approval for a new map that could make it a 7-0 GOP sweep in the state of Alabama. Republican Governor Kay Ivey, which I call Grandma, the Grandma Governor, because she looks like a grandma, okay, called legislators back to Montgomery starting Monday, which was yesterday, to approve contingency plans for special primary elections in hopes the Supreme Court will let the state switch congressional maps ahead of November's midterms. It's a move the Republican legislators said would give our state a fighting chance to send 7 Republican members to Congress. The 7-member delegation currently has 2 Democrats. Federal judges previously ordered Alabama to use a court-selected map with a second district with a substantial number of black voters. Remember what the Supreme Court said: no minority majority congressional districts. Federal judges, the judges also ordered Alabama to use a new map until the 2030 census. Alabama is appealing that decision and hoping the court in light of the Louisiana ruling, will let Alabama revert to the 2023 map drawn by state lawmakers. And the Supreme Court yesterday said that their decision is to take effect immediately. So this is going to be a no-brainer. The proposal would substantially alter the district now represented by Representative Shamari Figures, Democrat, Alabama, a black man. It doesn't matter. The proposal in Alabama hinges on the court lifting the injunction in time to switch maps before the November election. Lawmakers will consider bills that would enable special congressional primaries in the 4 impacted congressional districts if that happens. As I continue saying, Alabama knows our state, our people, and our districts, Grandma Ivy said. All right? And she already believes, I believe she signed the bill and that it will take effect. Okay? Next, Tennessee. Governor Bill Lee calls a special session to redraw the House map in GOP in favor of 9 Republicans and 0 Democrats. Tennessee's redistricting special legislative session Tuesday today will weigh a map that will potentially turn the state's lone blue district red before the 2026 midterms. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee, who is term limited and leaving office after this year, moved quickly to call the special session after a conversation with the president on the heels of the landmark Supreme Court decision that found race should not be used to dictate the drawing of a legislative district maps. We owe it to Tennesseans to ensure our congressional districts accurately reflect the will of Tennessee voters. Lee wrote in a statement announcing the session after Trump call expressing urgency to comply with mandatory election qualifying timelines to make sure a new map is enacted as soon as possible. And after consultation with the Lieutenant Governor, the Speaker of the House, the Attorney General, and the Secretary of State, I believe the General Assembly has a responsibility to review the map and ensure it's fair, legal, and defensible. All right? So we have 7-0 and 9-0 going from a 6-2 and a 7-2, I believe it is, or 8-1. So we're looking to gain 3 Republican seats in there if they fairly redistrict the states like they say. Mississippi is on board with that. I read yesterday about it. I couldn't find an article about it. Florida, Governor DeSantis already did theirs, moving 4 minority majority seats into the hands of the Republicans because they'll be fairly redistricted and not gerrymandered. And then one other state, South Carolina. All right. Governor McMaster in South Carolina said that, what are we looking at? 1247, man. General McMaster said it is highly unlikely that that South Carolina will go through redistricting right now. They say it'll probably happen at the census time, which, look, let him get a phone call from the president. They can talk it over and see what happens. All right. It should be, there's only one Democrat congressional district in Virginia as Jim Clyburn's. And there's a lot of, there will be a lot of heartache if he's districted out. Okay, let's put it like that. We'll see about it. But right now, it looks like it's favoring into the Republicans' hands for redistricting throughout the South. And then someone earlier said, well, what about the North, right? And, that's a really good question because if you look in Illinois, I mentioned this on some other podcast. What about no, what it was a Facebook post. What about Illinois 13 and Illinois 17? These guys look like crescent moons going through the state of Indianapolis, the state of Illinois, and they're both Democrat seats. They've got them gerrymandered and stuff instead of like rectangles or squares or stuff like that. They actually got them gerrymandered into the state. They get the maximum Democrat votes to be able to hold on to those seats. That's what's happening, right? And you got Hakeem Jeffries says he's going to try to redistrict New York again. They got spanked badly a few years ago for trying it by a New York court, and now I guess he says he's going to try it again. Let's shift focus over to Ohio, right? Ohio did the same thing. Political analysts were monitoring voter turnout in today's primary, right? Which was it? The vice president voted for Vivek Ramaswamy in the primary for governor, right? It says a strong showing by Democrat Senate Sherrod Brown could hint at whether Democrats might score an upset victory. He's not going to do well. At the same time, 3 U.S. House representative races in Ohio also provide clues on Democrats' more likely chances of winning control of that chamber, which Republicans hold now with a narrow majority. Last year, Ohio approved the redistricting plan that Republicans drew up to gain an added edge in November's elections. That put Democrat Representative Marcy Kaptur, 4-decade House career in jeopardy. What is she doing in Congress for 40 years? That is unbelievable. That's case in point for term limits right there, man. Can't they find anybody else to fulfill her seat? And we got the same problem in the Republican Party, but that's case in point. And even in my congressional district, we have John Carter, and I believe he's been in office since 2001, right? A long time ago. Matter of fact, he was my representative when I got at Fort Hood, and then we redistricted 4 years later. I went into Roger Williams' district, and then in 2022, we redistricted back to CD 31, and John Carter was still our representative. All right, that's how long he's been here. That put, similarly, Democrat Representative Greg Lansom's Cincinnati district is now more Republican friendly, although he's holding an edge against a likely winner in Tuesday's Republican primary. Yeah, that's only for now. They got more registered Republicans than registered Democrats in Ohio now. So that's what's going on in Ohio. All right. And then back to Kentucky. Man, we're all going around the center part here. We're at 12:52. We're doing good on time. All right. We'll do these last two pieces real quick. Thomas Massie has a primary challenger in Kentucky, another Republican, right? And his campaign manager, Thomas Massie's campaign guy, stepped in a whole mess of trouble the other day because the guy is challenging Thomas Massie. His name is Ed Gowring, right? Gowring is a Navy veteran, and he's a 100% disabled veteran, but he still works a farm, right? And just so you know and I know I got Ricky on here too, and he's a 100% disabled veteran like I am. Okay, no secrets here, right? I have lots of friends that are 100% disabled, and we know not all injuries and wounds are visible. Some have said bad back, some have said bad knees. I have sleep apnea. We have people with PTSD. We have all kinds of issues. Not all of them are 100% disabling, but in VA math, they are they projected to a disability rating that you need treatment for, right? It doesn't mean you can't work. It just means the VA recognizes you have issues with your service and you need treatment for it, right? So that is what I'm saying right here. Now, an ally of Thomas Massey, Republican Kentucky, he's a rhino, in receiving blowback for painting Ed Gowring, Massey's challenger, as a veteran potentially abusing his disability benefits. Uh, Ed Gowring has received government benefits for claiming to be 100% physically disabled. Um, you're not disabled. You're not physically disabled. You're C&P disabled, right? Uh, look it up if you don't understand. While also claiming to to uh, while also claiming to do demanding full-time work on his family's operation, Andrew Cooperrider, a radio and podcast host, said on a post on to Facebook, "This raises serious questions about consistency, transparency, and accountability." The post drew criticism from experts from the veterans community for what they call a mischaracterization of the Veterans Affairs Disability Rating System. It also highlights the sensitivity of a race that pits Trump endorsed candidate against one of the president's most frequent critics. I think it's disgraceful that any type of campaign would try to use a disability rating against someone. Mark Lucas, founder and president of Veteran Action, an advocacy group, uh, said of Corander's post, "Just because a veteran has a disability, it doesn't mean they can't work." Gorein, a former longtime Navy SEAL and fifth generation Kentucky farmer, uh, has positioned himself as a pro-Trump candidate looking to unseat the biggest thorn in the side of the GOP. He contends that Massey's decisions to vote against Trump's big, beautiful bill, his push to pass the Epstein Files Transparency Act, and inconsistent claims to overseas conflicts in Iran and Venezuela all go against the grain of the party. Gorein received Trump's endorsement earlier this year. Tim Murtaugh, an advisor for his campaign, blasted Cooper Under's Facebook post, calling his criticism an offensive attack. "This is ridiculous, an offensive attack on a veteran, a potentially illegal invasion of privacy, and it proves Massey and his allies fully have no shame and no honor," Murtaugh said. Prior to his political aspirations, Gorein served as a member of SEAL Team 6, deploying to conflict zones in Panama and the Persian Gulf, among others, before returning to work on his family's farm. According to his online biography, it is unclear whether his injuries led to the DVA to give Gorein a 100% disability rating. Darren Selnick, a former VA Affairs advisor for the White House Domestic Policy Council and senior advisor to Veteran Action, explained that a disability rating is a multi-factor assessment of injuries sustained in service-related activity that then serves as a basis for federal assistance. He stressed that veterans have little say in the rating they ultimately receive. Very true. Very true. All right. If you're proud of our military and proud of our veterans, give us an American flag. And I will even do that because I got friends, and my wife is a disabled veteran also. So I'll put American flag in the chat. All right. Where are we at? We're at 12:58. Shall I continue or should I progress over to Rumble Premium? Okay, so if that's the case, hold on. I'm out of time. So On the next Tuesday here in Copper's Cove, we have the Coryell County Republican Party candidates meet and greet at the Giovanni's in conjunction with the Copper's Cove Conservatives Club. It'll be at Giovanni's in Copper's Cove at 6 p.m. County Commissioner number 2, Scott Weddle, will be there. So will Tully Meyer, his opponent. So will County Commissioner candidate Ray Ashby and his opponent, Justin Smith, will be there. So will Coryell County candidate for County Judge Rob Irwin will be there. County Judge Roger Miller is invited. I don't know if he's going to show. We will find out. Anyone in the area wants to show in. It's a drop in. You can sit down. You can eat with us back in the Roma room. Enjoy yourself and ask questions to these candidates. All right. And so 6 p.m. next Tuesday on the 12th at Giovanni's at 6 p.m. Come join. All right. All right. And so with that also is we have early vote for the runoff starts on the 18th of May, goes to the 22nd of May, and the actual runoff election day is Tuesday, 26th of May. And remember, the early vote and do the runoff. You have to have voted in Republican primary to vote in the Republican runoff, or have never have voted, right? Not voted yet. And then also the on the Democrat side, there's no. Well, there are a couple. I don't think there are any Democrat primary runoffs. But if you're inside the state of Texas, and if you're voting in the Democrat runoff, you have to have voted in the Democrat primary or have not voted either. Right. All right. So that being said, I'm going to show my in slide, and then I'm going to go back in, and then we're going to go into Rumble Premium for just a little while. All right. Thank y'all very much for tuning in. And this is James Pierce preparing to go on Rumble Premium. If you're looking for my social medias, these are my social medias. You're welcome to watch what I post and actually comment. All right. So I'm going Rumble Premium at this